forward. Theory number 10. Joyce Byers is the real mind flayer. Starting off strong with a theory that sounds absolutely insane until you really think about it. What if Joyce Byers, the frantic, chain-smoking mother we all love, is actually the mind flayer in human form? Now just hear me out first. Here's the evidence that'll blow your mind. Joyce always knows exactly where to look and what's happening before anyone else figures it out. She finds Will in the Upside Down when trained government agents couldn't. She immediately recognizes when Will is possessed in Season 2. She knows Bob is going to die before it happens. How does a small-town mom consistently outsmart interdimensional monsters and government conspiracies? The theory suggests Joyce is actually an ancient entity that's been protecting Hawkins for decades, using her human disguise to guide events from the shadows. Think about it. Every major victory against the Upside Down happens because Joyce pushes the group in the right direction. She's not reacting to supernatural events, she's orchestrating them. The mind flayer we see might actually be Joyce's rejected dark side, cast out when she chose to protect humanity instead of dominate it. That's why it keeps targeting her family specifically. It's trying to reclaim its other half. Wild? Absolutely. Impossible? In Stranger Things, nothing's impossible. Theory number 9. Steve Harrington is a government plant. Everyone loves Steve's redemption arc from douchebag to babysitter extraordinaire. But what if that transformation was too perfect? What if Steve Harrington has been a government asset this entire time? Consider the timeline. Steve goes from being a typical high school bully to suddenly caring about Nancy, then inexplicably becomes the world's best monster-fighting babysitter. His character development is so dramatic it's almost unnatural. Plus, he's always in the right place at the right time to help our heroes. The theory proposes that Steve was recruited by a shadow government program designed to monitor and protect the party. His job was to integrate into their social circle and keep them safe while appearing to be just a reformed bad boy. His famous hair isn't just vanity, it's hiding a small communication device that keeps him connected to his handlers. This explains why Steve never gets seriously hurt despite constantly throwing himself into danger. He's got backup we never see. It also explains his uncanny ability to fight Demogorgons and Russians with just a baseball bat and some attitude. Steve isn't just brave, he's trained. The most chilling part? Steve might not even know he's an asset. His memories could have been altered to make him believe his character growth was natural. That would make his genuine care for the kids even more tragic. His real emotions being used by people who see him as expendable. Theory number 8. The Upside Down is actually the future. Here's a theory that'll keep you up at night. What if the Upside Down isn't a parallel dimension, but actually our world's future after an apocalyptic event? Look at the evidence. The Upside Down is a decayed, toxic version of Hawkins frozen in time from 1983. But what if it's not frozen? What if that's when the apocalypse began? The dark particles floating everywhere could be nuclear fallout. The vines and organic growth could be nature trying to reclaim a dead world. This theory suggests that Vecna isn't trying to merge dimensions. He's trying to prevent a timeline where humanity destroys itself. Every time he kills someone, he's actually saving them from a worse fate. The people he targets aren't random. They're individuals whose descendants would play key roles in the coming apocalypse. The Mind Flayer isn't an alien entity. It's an evolved form of human consciousness that developed after the nuclear disaster, trying to warn the past about what's coming. That's why it can possess people. It's literally trying to communicate through the only means available. If this theory is true, then Eleven's powers aren't supernatural. They're the result of government experiments trying to create psychic soldiers for the coming war. The lab wasn't studying interdimensional travel. They were trying to send messages back in time to prevent the apocalypse. Theory number 7. Murray Bauman is the true puppet master. Murray seems like comic relief, a paranoid conspiracy theorist who stumbles into the truth. But what if Murray Bauman is actually the smartest person in the entire series, orchestrating events from behind the scenes? Think about Murray's track record. He exposes the lab's cover-up, translates Russian communications, and always seems to have the exact skills needed for each situation. He's a journalist, a translator, a hacker, and apparently a relationship counselor. That's not coincidence, that's preparation. The theory suggests Murray has been investigating supernatural phenomena for decades, possibly since the original Hawkins lab experiments in the 1950s. He's not just stumbling into these situations, he's been tracking them, waiting for the right moment to act. Murray's paranoia isn't mental illness. It's justified caution for someone who knows how deep the conspiracy goes. His isolated lifestyle isn't antisocial behavior, it's operational security. He lives alone in a bunker-like house because he's been preparing for this war his entire life. The most compelling evidence? Murray always knows exactly who to call and what to say to get results. He doesn't just investigate, he manipulates. He pushes Nancy and Jonathan together because he needs them as a team. He befriends Joyce and Hopper because he needs their connections. Murray isn't documenting the story, he's writing it. Theory number 6. The Mind Flayer is actually trying to save humanity. What if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if the Mind Flayer isn't the villain but actually humanity's last hope against something much worse? This theory flips the entire narrative. The Mind Flayer isn't trying to invade our world, it's trying to evacuate us from it. The Upside Down isn't a hellscape, it's a refuge. The Mind Flayer has been desperately trying to move humans to safety before something catastrophic happens to our dimension. Every possession is actually the Mind Flayer trying to communicate, but human brains can't handle the information without being overwhelmed. Will's episodes in Season 2 weren't attacks. They were desperate attempts to warn about an incoming threat that would make Vecna look like a minor inconvenience. The real villain? Time itself. Our dimension is collapsing and the Mind Flayer is a cosmic entity trying to preserve life by moving it to stable realities. The gates aren't invasions, they're escape routes. The Mind Flayer's hive mind isn't about control, it's about unity in the face of universal extinction. This explains why the Mind Flayer seems to target specific people and locations. It's not random violence, it's triage. The Mind Flayer is trying to save who it can, when it can, before reality itself breaks down completely. Theory number 5. Dustin Henderson is Vecna's son. Here's a theory that sounds crazy until you start connecting the dots. What if Dustin Henderson, the lovable nerd with the pearls of wisdom, is actually Vecna's biological son? The evidence is subtle but compelling. Dustin is the only member of the party who's never been directly targeted by upside-down entities. Demogorgons ignore him. The Mind Flayer skips over him, and even Vecna seems to avoid him specifically. That's not luck, that's protection. Dustin's intelligence is also suspiciously advanced. He understands complex scientific concepts, builds sophisticated radio equipment, and always seems to know exactly what's happening with interdimensional phenomena. His knowledge goes beyond what any normal kid should possess. The theory suggests that Vecna, back when he was Henry Creel, had a relationship before his transformation. Dustin's mother, Claudia, might have been involved with Henry, and when she realized what he was becoming, she fled and raised Dustin alone. She's been protecting him by keeping him ignorant of his true heritage. This would explain Dustin's natural leadership abilities and his uncanny knack for solving supernatural problems. He's not just smart, he's inherited psychic abilities that he doesn't fully understand. His connection to the Upside Down isn't learned, it's genetic. The most heartbreaking part of this theory? Vecna might be avoiding Dustin not out of mercy, but because he's waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth and turn his own son into his greatest weapon. Theory number 4. The real Hawkins died in 1983. What if everything we've been watching since Season 1 is actually taking place in a pocket dimension, and the real Hawkins was destroyed the night Will disappeared? This theory suggests that when 11 opened the first gate, she didn't just create a portal, she shattered reality itself. The Hawkins we've been following is actually a fragment of the original timeline, preserved in a bubble while the real world moved on without them. Think about how isolated Hawkins seems from the outside world. Government agents can operate there with impunity. Interdimensional monsters attack regularly, and somehow none of this makes national news. That's because there's no outside world to report to. They're trapped in a temporal loop. The time skip between seasons isn't actually time passing, it's the pocket dimension resetting itself, trying to maintain stability. The characters age and change, but the fundamental problems never get resolved because they can't. They're stuck in a supernatural Groundhog Day scenario. This explains why the same patterns keep repeating. Gates open, monsters attack, heroes fight back, gates close, repeat. It's not poor writing, it's the pocket dimension's programming. The real tragedy is that our heroes are fighting a war they can never truly win because they're not fighting in the real world anymore. The only way out would be to completely destroy the pocket dimension, which would mean accepting that everyone they've saved, every victory they've achieved, never actually happened in the real timeline. Theory number 3. 11 is the Mind Flayer's daughter. Here's a theory that recontextualizes 11's entire journey. What if she's not just a psychic experiment, but actually the biological offspring of the Mind Flayer itself? The theory proposes that the Mind Flayer isn't just an interdimensional entity. It's a cosmic force of nature that reproduces by implanting its essence into suitable hosts. Terry Ives wasn't just a test subject. She was chosen specifically because her genetic makeup could support a hybrid offspring. This explains Eleven's incredible power level compared to the other lab children. She's not just psychic, she's part Mind Flayer. Her abilities aren't learned or enhanced. They're inherited from a cosmic entity that exists across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The sensory deprivation tank doesn't just amplify her powers, it connects her to her true parent. Every time Eleven enters the void, she's actually communing with the Mind Flayer's consciousness. The dark space isn't empty, it's the Mind Flayer's natural habitat. This theory suggests that the entire series has been the Mind Flayer trying to reconnect with its daughter, but Eleven's human upbringing has made her resistant to her true nature. Every supernatural threat has been a test, pushing her to embrace her interdimensional heritage. The most chilling implication? Eleven's ultimate destiny might not be to save humanity, but to replace it. She could be the bridge between dimensions, designed to help the Mind Flayer transform Earth into something more suitable for cosmic entities. Theory number 2. The entire series is Will's dying dream. What if Will Byers never actually escaped the Upside Down in Season 1? What if everything we've watched since then has been his dying mind creating an elaborate fantasy where he survives and his friends become heroes? This theory suggests that Will died in the Upside Down during his first week there, but his consciousness became trapped in a psychic loop. His mind, desperate to survive, created an alternate reality where he's rescued and goes on to have adventures with his friends. The evidence is subtle but consistent. Will is always slightly disconnected from major events, often serving as a warning system rather than an active participant. He's present but not quite there, like someone observing rather than living. The supernatural threats keep escalating because Will's dying mind is running out of energy to maintain the fantasy. Each season represents his consciousness fading further, requiring bigger and more dramatic scenarios to keep the dream alive. The other characters' growth and development represents Will's idealized version of how he hoped his friends would mature. Mike becomes a better leader. Dustin becomes more confident. Lucas becomes more loyal. They're all becoming the people Will wished they could be. The most heartbreaking aspect of this theory is that Will's episodes in Season 2 weren't possession. They were moments when his dying consciousness briefly surfaced, trying to communicate that none of this is real. If true, the series finale would need to address whether Will's friends can somehow save his consciousness or if they need to let him go and accept that their friend died years ago. Theory number 1. Vecna is actually the hero. And finally, the most mind-bending theory of all. What if Vecna has been the good guy this entire time? This theory flips the entire narrative on its head. Vecna isn't trying to destroy humanity, he's trying to save it from something much worse. His seemingly random killings are actually surgical strikes against individuals who would cause catastrophic damage to the timeline if left alive. The theory suggests that Vecna has the ability to see all possible futures, and in every timeline where he doesn't intervene, humanity faces complete extinction, not from interdimensional monsters, but from their own actions. Nuclear war, environmental collapse, technological singularity gone wrong. Pick your apocalypse. Max, Chrissy, Fred, and Patrick weren't innocent victims. They were future architects of humanity's downfall. Vecna's curse doesn't just kill, it shows his victims the truth about what they would become. The trauma and guilt he forces them to confront are actually their future crimes against humanity. The Mind Flayer isn't Vecna's master, it's his tool. He's using its power to reshape reality, creating a timeline where humanity can survive its own destructive tendencies. Every gate he opens isn't an invasion, it's a pressure release valve preventing worse catastrophes. The most chilling part of this theory? Eleven and the party aren't heroes. They're unknowingly working to preserve a timeline that leads to human extinction. Every time they save someone from Vecna, they're actually dooming the species. If this theory is true, then the real tragedy of Stranger Things isn't the supernatural threats, it's that the only person trying to save humanity is forced to become its greatest monster.